worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want to ring. Yeah, we all want to be free.
Hey, welcome to Lions Nation Unite live here on this Tuesday, and I am laughing because I was watching the reaction of Ant-Man while I was singing the Ant-Man song. Hey, man, how you doing, man?
Hey man, you get me with these intros. I'm listening out for them now, and I just start creasing every time you do. So, but no, I'm doing good. Thanks. Hope you're doing well. Do you have a nice holiday? Seem to do well.
Oh, vacation was epic. We went to the Smoky Mountains. Then we drove to Disney World. Then we went to Daytona Beach and back. It was epic. Needed that vacation. And I didn't realize 9 Drinks was just a couple hours away. I should have, if I would have realized that, I probably would have stopped and said hi. Interestingly enough, his significant other was in my place, Zealand, while I was in his area in Florida. So I thought that was pretty funny. We got 3 weeks till training camp, man. You excited about this?
I am. I'm just ready for Lions football again. Like, you know, most times during the off season, if we've had a rubbish year, we're like, oh, we don't care. We'll wait for it to happen. But this is it, isn't it? Like the first time in forever where we're using the term Lions and Super Bowl in the same sentence, and we've been genuinely serious about it. Like this is the year where it could potentially happen. We could take that final leap. So I just want it here right now. I need to see us kicking people's asses again. It's what we do. It's what Sundays are about. The Lions dominating everybody.
Yeah, man, it's crazy too because I was on local radio yesterday for my other job, the ESPN thing, and I keep getting asked, is this Lions a legit Super Bowl contender? I'm like, it's not a homer take, folks. Like, I'm really telling you, I think they are. Like, and Ant-Man's like me. We generally are even keel. We're not too high, not too low throughout our time on YouTube. And it's not like he predicted Super Bowls every year or anything like that. It's just we realistically, Ant-Man and I and a lot of other individuals look at this roster, and it's a Super Bowl caliber roster, Ant-Man. It just is.
Absolutely. And, we've built our roster the right way. We've not rushed it. We've built it with youth. This is year 4 we're going into now. Like, that's for any rebuild. That's a long time. We had our first year where we took our lumps and we saw a little bit towards the end. We had our second year where the team learned to start winning games, like that talent started to develop. And then year 3, we saw the jump where we added some veterans in. The young guys they're just starting to hit the prime of their powers, and with a little bit of luck as you need, you get all the way to the NFC Championship game. And now year 4, this is where you can add your bona fide talent, spend some good money on the roster, which we have, and go for it. So we've been very patient. The roster's built well. It's young with tons of talented players on there, and it's set for longevity, which is the big thing. If we don't do it this year, it'll be disappointing, but it doesn't matter because we're going to be right in the thick of it next year because our cap, the age of the team, like we're just going to be able to keep going and going and going. And eventually, as we know with this team, they will break the wall down. Every wall they've ever hit in their development, they've broken down. We will get there.
I think the Lions window is open for many years. This is not a situation where it's Buffalo, where it's like you have a little bit of window, right? And then it's like, crap, we can't pay everybody. Detroit just continues to draft so well that the window every year, it just keeps getting open and open and open because of your ability to draft these young players. And again, this is something the Ant-Man talks about on their channel religiously, literally have a college podcast and talking about players coming. That's why y'all need to subscribe to the Ant-Man. I have him on here because he's epic. All right. And I'm going to be having him. I'm going to bring him on my ESPN radio that we do too. I'm going to have him on there. So like you want to listen to what he's saying here. It's 100% factual. Also on Lions Nation Unite, folks, you want to subscribe to the channel because there's going to be content creators now making it on here besides me. I'm just going to be one piece of a cog We're gonna have the Ant-Man. We're gonna have everything King. We're gonna have Curtis Steele, Dose of Dion. Everybody who's part of Lions Nation, I can make videos, so expect it. Subscribe to the channel. I think it's important to have different views. Ant-Man, I'm excited to see your videos and how you're going to talk about our Detroit Lions.
It's going to be good. Like, you know, I just love talking Lions stuff, so it's going to be great. And to be part of this venture, it's great. We have such a wonderful community on here. Like, there's so many good content creators and that around, and this just allows everyone to come together and do their thing as one. Like I say, there's no competition here. We all help one another, build one another up, and this is so going to be fun. I love doing these things like part of LNU. I love the stuff I do with Royal Lions UK. I love this. I just love the whole thing about it.
Yeah, I love everybody's videos. I really do. I listen to a lot of content creators or individuals. They may be channels that's got like 10 subscribers, folks. So you're like me, you're a junkie. You like your Lions, you got to listen to it. And we're going to be doing that. And we're going to be talking about this trade proposal because I had to make a video on it because I laughed really I just couldn't believe it's actually legit trade proposal. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute. And yes, your wife is at Silver Lake right now. I got a sweatshirt on. It is cold here in the state of Michigan. It is like 55. Silver Lake is about an hour from me. So yeah, so his wife, who's a Floridian, is cold. She's cold right now because they used to that heat over there. And now you go into the 55s. That is cold. But let's get into our Lions news and rumor. So did you see this trade proposal? It was sent to me. I was on vacation. I got back. I finally read it. I started laughing. I was like, I'm going to make a video about it. So it deals with the Arizona Cardinals, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Detroit Lions. It's from Bleacher Report. Did you see this? If you haven't, I'll go ahead and explain it.
I have not, no, so you'll get a live reaction from me.
Live reaction. So this is the trade proposal, a 3-team trade. So the Dallas Cowboys, they get Donovan Peoples-Jones, Craig Reynolds, Hendon Hooker, a 3rd-round pick in 2026, and a 5th-round pick this year. The Lions get safety Budda Baker, and the Arizona Cardinals get Brandon Cooks, a 3rd-round pick, and another draft pick. So the Lions lose 5 assets and gain 1.
So just before I delve into this, because to me, 3-team trades are incredibly rare. Am I wrong? Or like
there isn't, I haven't, it's probably been like a decade since there's even been one, right?
I can't think of specifically at the time I've done this. There's never been a 3-team trade really for anything. This isn't the NBA.
No,
where you do that sort of stuff, and it just seems convoluted and
so right there you're looking at it and it's dumb, right?
Yeah, like I just don't think 3-team trades are really going to be a thing again with like, you know, moving all these assets around and that. It's just pointless. And for us, you don't really want to move solid depth around. You know, we've invested in Hooker for a reason. Like, we don't want to go back to a situation where it's just Nate Sudfeld again. Like, we've drafted him for a reason. We've drafted him to be the backup of the future, or for at least the first 4 years of his contract. So you don't want to be moving guys around there. And I don't know, it just seems a bit pointless for everybody. And
100%.
The whole point of how we've gone about our build and everything, like you said, we've still got the vast majority of our assets, all our first-round picks. We've got money. Like, we don't need to be making... We don't need to be throwing away assets needlessly at that point. We've stocked up. Like, we go for something big. If that was for someone big and we were giving assets up, I wouldn't mind so much. But, I mean, it just doesn't... No, I don't think that's just going to happen. Literally, for the 3-team trade scenario alone, I don't think we're ever going to see one of those.
Do you ever see in a situation, this is what I want to explain to everybody if you actually believe that article and you think it's something. And this is why you gotta be on a keen eye to what you read and or listen to, because some of this stuff just doesn't make any sense. Like heavy.com, that website, man, look, don't even listen to anything they say there. But do you ever see a situation, Ant-Man, Brad Holmes trading away Craig Reynolds, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Hendon Hooker, another draft pick this year? Where do you trade away to from the last year's draft? 5th-round pick this year, and then a 3rd-round pick in 2026 to get Budda Baker, 28-year-old safety, in the last year of his deal.
I don't No, I don't not necessarily see him going for the player, but what draft capital, like what draft value does Craig Reynolds have? What draft value does Hendon Hooker have at this moment? It's like
It's just
with
it's our value of having that as backups.
I feel like that's a thing where they're throwing a couple of players in to try and
Yeah.
make it more tenable, but they don't have draft value. So, for one, the opposition wouldn't accept that deal. Like they'd want a role player off us as a minimum. And there's no one there. Like DPJ, he's got no transfer, he's got no trade value either. But we know how good he can be.
And for a team acquiring these quote unquote 3 players from the Lions would then have to release 3 players or 2 players if they were to trade away another one. That's another problem.
Exactly. It just smacks of like someone's like, oh, what can we do that's fun and different and not just doing regular trades there. But that one's not going to happen. I will say on the issue
not going to happen.
On the issue of trades, I've already said this multiple times now. Like,
yes.
we are buyers at this deadline. We will, like right now, your roster is set. You've gone through free agency. You've gone through the draft. You've got all you're pretty much set where you want to be right now. You might add another 1 or 2 guys from free agency or roster cut downs if there's any surprise. But for the most part, this is your roster. Yep. So you are going to want to see what they've got in season and then go for it. It's like I said, with the edge room, like with Houston, with Pascal, and with Davenport. Like if none of those 3 are performing coming near the trade deadline and you're doing well, you trade for an edge player. Like
correct.
If you
100%, I'm with you fully.
Yeah, if Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph are struggling at safety and you're coming up to the trade deadline and you don't really want to move Branch around, you go trade for a safety. We will buy players, but only when the options on our roster have been exhausted and we've given them the opportunity to do so. We won't be doing anything silly, I reckon, just yet, but we will if the need arises during the season.
Oh, for sure. No, I agree with you. Look, if we needed to if there's a position out there, the trade deadline, and I like Budda Baker, he's one of my favorite safeties. He's one of my favorite players in all the NFL. I've been saying that for a couple of years now. I would love to get him on this team, but that's just way too much. Like it does, you know what I'm saying? It'd have to be a real deal that could work, which is fine. And but I'm with you. Look, if you need an edge, there's a guy out there that you can pick up in this year. Look, this roster is stacked as it's going to get. We got the money. We can even push and roll over money from this year to help out if you had to trade for a player who wants to get an extension on a bad team so he can come here to be on a good team. We can do that right now. We can do that. We have the money, right? We have the capital, and we got that window. So I am with you 100%.
And if we did really badly want a safety, Justin Simmons is still on the market.
Yep.
Let's go pay him maybe a little bit more than Budda Baker's getting. I don't know. And you know what we'll give up for him? Nothing. No players, no picks, free. We do that instead if you're that desperate.
100%.
So, and I reckon the trade deadline, I think this could be some great value this year because there's a lot of big teams. You look at Buffalo, Cincinnati, whose head coaches are close to being fired. And there's rosters that are going to be getting torn down, fire sales, really good players. So hold your assets. Like trade deadline, it can be good for a reason because you can get great value from teams wrecking it down. So just hold fire. Don't do anything stupid like that.
You can roll over some cap. Yes, you can. It can roll over. You can save some money, but it's not really like you're adding to the cap. It's just pushing from this year to the next. So it's not like you're adding money to the cap. You can't do that. You can't. Yeah. I don't know what the cap is. Well, like $267 million. You can't just. Well, I'm gonna do 300. That's just not how it works. You have to be within your cap amount. Hashtag FGB. Do you see the Lions making a real trade though before the season? Before the season, a real trade, a small trade. Look, I'm not gonna. We do weird stuff with the back end roster. A big trade before the season starts? No, I don't see it. I just don't believe they're going to do it right now. I think they're going to be set for their roster unless 53-man roster and other teams, lose a player and they like to get one there. But if you're talking to trade, it'd be for the trade deadline. That's when I would probably expect it. What about you, Ant-Man?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers with me, but I would assume that like pretty big trades at this time of year are rare. Unless you've got someone who's on the unless you've got someone who's on a tag who's refusing to play ball, who you're trying to get out of there. But I think most of the franchise tag players have signed up this year. Like I say, I would assume now Brad likes to give his roster a chance to work first. And you've been through major free agency, you've been through the draft. Like, you're going to give these players an opportunity. It's like they said, they're not. I think it was Risden said they're not going to go after any more wide receivers. They want to give the guys like DPJ and that on the roster the opportunity to hold those spots down. Because if they come good, then you don't need to waste picks on trading for anyone like that. But again, that's what the deadline's for. It's far enough into the season where you can make a thorough evaluation and go, right, well, maybe actually this is a problem and we need to sort it. And generally, again, the value works in your favor when you're buying at that point. So I don't expect any major trades now unless somebody falls out with somebody and somebody wants to get out of an area. But I would expect the big ones to come nearer the deadline.
Yeah, and that's actually the right way. I mean, just because you lose Josh Reynolds and you don't pick up another wide receiver doesn't mean you're in a bad spot. What if Antoine Green? What are these guys? What if they step up? We've seen multiple times players step up, and you're just like out of nowhere, this guy all of a sudden is good. And Darius Fountain, 6'2", 210-pound wide receiver. He showed a little bit so far in training camp. Antoine Green last year in preseason, he really excelled. And one of the preseason games where he had a really big game, I think it was like a 60-yard touchdown. I think that's what kept him on the, that made him 53-man roster. You got Isaiah Williams on there. So just because we don't have a name right now doesn't necessarily mean we won't have one, right? No. So, I mean, just let the process play out. If no one develops, if we're talking, it's like preseason 2 and no one is at that time, or preseason 3, if a player gets released like Robert Woods or something from the Texans, the Lions could pick him up, but they're going to go ahead and evaluate the talent they have right now.
Exactly. I mean, we've lost Reynolds, who had 500 yards. We had 7,800 yards of offense last year. I mean, it's like we've said about not having a proper outside receiver type thing. Yes, it would be nice, but this team has gotten by without one. The amount of weapons we have at our disposal is crazy. And you think even without Reynolds this year, you'll have Raymond, who you can use to get a few more yards in there. You've got J-Mo, who's hopefully going to break out a bit more this year. And then you've got Amon-Ra, Laporta, all these guys. It's a small drop in the ocean what we've lost compared to what we already have and what we know we can do with. So it actually kind of makes sense. Just have these young guys around, keep developing them, because at the minute, that lack of the outside guy doesn't really hinder us as a team. So there's only upside to keeping young guys around. See if you can land on one of them. So we don't need to panic and get one.
Ant-Man, you coming stateside for any games this year?
I'm hoping to. So, yeah, because I wanted to come for the draft. I wasn't able to, but hopefully, yeah, I will be there for a game this year. I'm not sure yet, waiting for my boy Mike here to hook me up, but we'll see. I'll definitely be there for the Super Bowl when we get there.
Oh, hey, no doubt. If he comes stateside, I'll drive up to Detroit myself just to hang out with the Ant-Man. It's only a 2.5-hour drive. If he's coming across the pond, then I can go 2.5-hour drive. PFF Ant-Man rated the Detroit Lions offensive line number 1 in the NFL. Do you agree? And explain why you think that.
Of course, man. I'm a Lions fan, aren't I? I'm a little bit biased when it comes to this, but yeah, I think we are the best offensive line in the NFL, and the reason why we've just got some incredibly gifted players on this line. We've got the best tackle in the NFL. We've got the best center in the NFL. We've got a solidly top 10 left tackle. We've got a right guard coming in who was great, 4th in the nation last year, and you've got Graham Glasgow, who's a very serviceable member of the line. So when your 5th man is like a middle of the pack, very serviceable guy, and everyone else is top 10 and elite at that position, good things are happening. And we've seen this year, we saw last year, the run game flourished. We had 2 guys who got up to nearly 1,000 yards. I mean, how many years did we not have a 1,000-yard rusher here in Detroit? Not even close. Yet we've got 2 guys who got there in rotation last season. Jared Goff had plenty of time to throw the ball. He's been well protected. He doesn't get sacked so much. And, you just see how gifted they are technically. When you see guys doing breakdowns of offensive line, they're using the Lions as like a template to show just how technically adept they are and how well they've been trained. It's longevity. They've just been good for a long time now. So yeah, I think we do have the best in terms of the starting five, and I will not apologize for that.
Thomas Burke, do you think Lions D will be playing more zone this year? I think it's going to be more man this year, my opinion, just depending development of Terry Arnold. But I think it's going to be more man. I think that hopefully Aaron Glenn gets the guys that can actually do his secondary in the defense. What do you think?
I think I'm not sure because again, the scheme thing is not my strong point. Where they're working all these schemes, etc. All I want to see from them this year, I want to see them play the best five. I don't want them to mess around. I don't want to do all this moving guys all over the back five. We've got 2 lockdown corners in Carlton Davis and Terry Arnold. We've got Brian Branch to play nickel. I want him to play there because that's why we drafted him. He's going to be one of the best in the NFL to do that. And then you've got your 2 young guys, Iffy and Kirby, as safety. You want to play them there. You want them to get the reps. You want them to keep developing because they're going to be a future there for a long time to come. I just want to see the best 5 play there, and I don't want to see them get cute trying to move it around and trying to put too much on them because we have not earned the right to do that with our secondary. Our secondary has been cheeks for years and years and years since Slay and Diggs and all that left. So I just want to see the top 5 guys out there just playing the game. I trust the 2 guys on the outside to be on an island, to be against the best of them, and then the 3 on the interior, I trust them to cause havoc. So scheme-wise, I'm not sure. I just want to see them play the best 5, though, and not get cute with it.
We're going to go over this really quick here, and then right after this little segment, we'll do the mailbag segment, and I'll take all your questions. Devin Davis, I see yours. I'll be the first one, and we'll get to that in about 8 minutes here. But I want to talk about this because I talked about it on the radio yesterday, and this is intriguing. CBS Sports did its top 10 clutch quarterbacks in the NFL. I want to go over the list and see if you think it's the way it should be. And right now, they got Patrick Mahomes as the number 1 clutch quarterback in the NFL. I agree. I have no problem with him being the top dog in here. All he does is win Super Bowls.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is no denying it at this point, and sometimes he's not even had the best teams to work with. They've been great, but he had a ragtag bunch of receivers and that to work with last year. Made a star out of Rashee Rice before he ruined his career. No one can argue that he is as clutch as they come. Now
everything goes off the rails here. So the number 2. Wait a minute. I do continue the article here. What's going on? Okay, so the number 2 guy. And they're not even showing it. But the number 2 guy, let me get this off here. The number 2 guy was C.J. Stroud. And C.J. Stroud, they considered him the number 2. Daniel Jones got in at, I think it was 6. And then Jared Goff was at 5 as the clutch quarterback. Lamar Jackson is at 9. Justin Herbert, 10. Let's get into here. Daniel Jones, 8. Sorry. Joe Burrow. Dak Prescott at 6. Jared Goff at 5. But they got, ahead of Jared Goff, they got Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and C.J. Stroud.
You know what? I love C.J. Stroud. And this was coming from someone who berated him all throughout his time in college and the pre-draft process. The situation he got jettisoned into last year, the receiver core he had, the offensive line he had to do what he did was special. And, I had to eat a lot of humble pie over that one. So I can actually kind of get behind that a little bit. So, and he's going to be great. If he carries on developing, he is going to be insanely good. He's going to be better than Josh Allen. He's going to be the best quarterback in the AFC, probably. Maybe just behind Mahomes.
They have Daniel Jones at 8. Brock Purdy's not even on the list. To me, Daniel Jones may be the worst quarterback in the NFL. And there's a question right here that somebody asked. Who's going to have the worst record this season? I think it's Carolina and the Giants. They're going to be probably up there as one of the worst records in the NFL. I'll go with the Carolina Panthers as the worst again. What about you?
I mean, it's tough.
Titans could be another team too.
I've always been sort of. I think the Titans are about to go through a huge period of rebuild there with themselves. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play for the Jets, they could be about to go through a bit of turmoil as well. I mean, the Commanders, I don't trust the Commanders. They could be equally as bad this year. Saints, I think the Saints are going to be terrible. I think they're going to be picking high this year as well. I think there's a good chance the candidate comes from the NFC South. Saints, Panthers, one of those two.
Yeah, I'll go with, I think Carolina is going to be the worst. The New York Giants, maybe the second worst, and then the Titans right there. I think all those three teams really suck. Arizona is actually going in the right direction. I think they've had another good draft. Yeah, they'll be much better. And they were a bad team, at least record-wise last year. So that's who I got. If you got questions, just throw it in the comment section. We can go ahead and get this thing going for some Q&A. If there is one player, Ant-Man, that you could trade for right now on any team and you would get it, but it has to be a premium price for the player, who would it be?
Oh, hello. Well, I'd have to think of a position first. No quarterback, no running back, no receiver. What would we do? D tackle, edge. It'd be an edge. Trey Hendrickson. I'm kind of hoping that the Bengals suck this year and Zach Taylor gets fired. Like I said, there's a lot of big teams out there who could be looking for new head coaches sooner rather than later. And if the Bengals, because you think of the division they're in, if the Steelers improve under Wilson, like they're not catching up Baltimore anytime soon either. Like that could be the time when they start jettisoning players out and they're there to be bought. I still want a guy opposite Hutch, and Hendrickson would be that. I would spend a lot to get him here because I don't think our edge of the future opposite Hutch is on this roster at the moment. I said as much yesterday on our show. So I would bring in Hendrickson and I would just make that pass rush fierce. Him and Hutch, like, they'd be the best pair of edges in the NFL.
Again, go ahead and continue to throw comments in the comment section. We will take your question and try to answer it as best as we can. And just go ahead and do a hashtag lines or hashtag something. That's how I see it right there. For sure. He says, yep, taking the Panthers worst. Exactly. Right now, I would trade for an edge that is proven. Max Crosby. I'd love to have him on this team, man. Oh, my God. I was watching him in that Raiders game, and I just couldn't believe how fast he gets off the line. You just see how fast and quick he is. My God, if him and Aiden Hutchinson were on a team, I'd die.
I think the only trouble is he cost you 3 first-round picks.
I know he cost.
I think you could get Hendrickson for 2. Like it's value. Like I can't. If any player giving away 3 first-round picks is a tough sell. Either that, or we're going to have to give a player back, and I don't really want to give players back. I want to add to the roster, not like make new holes on it. So I just think he would cost too much. But like having him here would be amazing. And as people are saying, he's a Dan Campbell player. Like imagine the two of them. They like just they throw each other into walls as like a game, and they just enjoy it. They'd just be there, like hitting one another, and they wouldn't care. Like it would be great.
I really like the name here. Frank Tank says this team is set. And let's see what happens to the Raiders, though, as it comes to trade deadline. Maybe we can bring Crosby home. Look, they're set. They're not going to do it. Like I said, they're not going to do any move. But I tell you what, if the Raiders do stink, oh my God! We're talking about if they're stinking and they're thinking about putting him on a trade deadline, I would at least make a call to figure just to see what it would take. I know the Lions probably want to do it because it'd be way too much, but you have to make a phone call. You would have.
Yeah. Absolutely. But for me, the Raiders have made it clear they're not competing this year because they didn't put themselves in the quarterback stake. Like, they're going to give Aiden O'Connell and is it not Stidham still there, the other guy? Anyhow, they're going to They didn't try and enter the quarterback stakes this year. So for me, actually, if you're looking for a team whose record might be bad, then the Raiders could be up there. But I really like Antonio Pierce and what he's doing there.
Yeah.
But they quite clearly punted on quarterback this year. So I don't think, even if they're doing bad, I don't think they're going to fire sale people, because I think they've deliberately made a choice to go through this year and like, yeah, we're probably not going to be the best team, but we've got a load of great guys. They're building at the moment. They're not going to want to give away the star unless someone overpays. Unless someone overpays highly for him, I think they're just happy with, this is going to be a year where we just get guys in, we develop this roster, there's a lot of holes to fill, but we're going to keep our centerpiece guys, because next year, that's when we're going to
get
really...
the quarterback, too. They'll get the quarterback next year, and then the team will be pretty much set, because I think they like Pierce over there. He looks like a good coach. Lisa DeLorenzo, #Lions. If the Lions do not get an edge player this year, who is the prospect they target next year's draft, Anthony?
I mean, this is kind of giving away my show, because I'm doing a college Q&A tonight where I've answered this, but the one I would like them to go for Nick Scowerton from Texas A&M. He played at Purdue last year. I was a massive fan of George Karlaftis when he came out of the Boilermakers program. They make really good edge rushers. He's going to have a great season in the SEC, and he might be in a position where we can pick him, because James Pierce, the overall guy, he's like a #1 overall pick. He's going to be way out of the equation. But Nick Scowerton would be the one I'd be looking at highly to get for us.
Frank the Tank says, it's okay if we give up 3 first-round picks. We're going to be picking in the 30s the next 3 years. 32nd the next 3 years. Yeah. That would be
that is fine, but then the only thing is that you do that per round, so your first pick's going to be at pick 64. So it's like, even without, it's like you're not getting top 50 picks from then onwards. So I don't know.
I just because of this #FToBears, before I get to this question, I seen there's Bears fans out there. They did every position on an NFL team, and like, so, from kicker all the way to long snapper to offensive tackle and all that stuff. And they did it for the NFC North. Who's the best at every position? This Bears fans literally at every position for the Bears, except for one that was like half Lions. There's some delusion going on.
Yeah. I want to beat them so badly this year.
I'm sure you guys seen that. I just started laughing. I said, what is going on with their fan base is really juicing it. Now
they've started trying to say the O-line's better than ours as well, like their young O-line, which it clearly isn't.
Their quarterback is better than ours. Their whole offensive line is better than ours. Their running backs better than ours. Their tight ends are better than everything.
They're crazy. I did, however, see. I saw ESPN had done something. They ranked the quarterbacks in the NFC North, and Goff was top. So at least somebody's listening to us, because he quite clearly is the best quarterback in the NFC North.
Brother says, #FToBears. Is Amik one of our game #1 starters? I love the fire this kid has. You say he's going to be a nickel, though. He's going to be the nickel, and that's going to be on the field quite a bit. I think he's going to be the nickel, unless Brian Branch. I don't know how it's going to be.
Yeah, this is where I have issues with this. Like, Brian Branch is going to be one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the NFL, period. He is the best secondary player on this team by some distance. Like, there's Brian Branch, and then everybody else is way down here right now. We drafted him to play that nickel position very specifically. He's the expert there. I want him to play there. He's our young man. We play him there where he's good. We've got 2 young safeties who we want to play and develop there, because that's best for us long term. He will be for me, he's going to be the backup, and that's what he should be.
It depends how they use Brian Branch. That's because I think.
He's
going to be like, if he's playing safety, then Amik would be in at nickel corner or something like that. So I really don't know how much time each player is going to have on the field. There's going to be different amounts, but you're right. Brian Branch is going to be on the field as much as humanly possible. Yeah, he's like an Aiden Hutchinson type of player that he's like 98% on the field.
You don't take him off.
Yeah,
Purely and
yeah.
simply, you do not take him off the field unless he's gassed and needs needs one drive of a rest or something like that. That is it.
So when I say
Only time.
number one starter, let's do 1.5 because he'll be on the field on game days. Not every time though, maybe in different spots. So I don't know if you want to it's hard to tell how they do their DBs because a lot of these guys are going to be on the field and it's going to just be different amount of times. So I'll say 1.5. I'll go 1.5. I think really the only people we know is guaranteed going to be on there for the secondary is Terry Arnold, Carlton Davis, and Brian Branch. They're always going to be on the field unless there's injury. Those are the three guys in the secondary that will always be on the field. The other guys, it's going to go back and forth. You'll see. Let's see.
Yeah.
Do you think that Barnes will make the roster? I personally think Rodriguez is better. Plus, we got Alex and Jack playing. Derek Barnes definitely make it the roster. He was a starter last year. Derek Barnes you keep them all. Jack Campbell, Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Look, you've got to have all these. There's going to be injuries, and these players are going to have to play. So you keep all of them.
Exactly. So, Jack Campbell is your guy. He's your Alex Anzalone on this roster. Like, he's going to be him long term, but better. Barnes is one of the only few who can properly blitz from the linebacker position. You can play around with a bit and do that. Like, Malcolm doesn't do that. Anzalone doesn't do that. Campbell doesn't really do that. You've got to have Barnes on your roster for the versatility it gives you and for that extra option to go after the quarterback. But I agree, you keep Malcolm. I love Malcolm, and I think they need to give Malcolm his reps this year. So between Jack, between Barnes, and between Malcolm, like that's your young linebacker core for the next 5-6 years, potentially. Malcolm backing these two guys up. Hopefully these are going to be the ones for your long term. And when Anzalone's deal's done, Jack takes over from him. But I keep them all.
You keep
like
them all.
maybe he's just I'll keep JRM here, special teams and that, but he's not going to be what any of those other three can be. So you've got to keep your centerpiece guys for that.
Everyone talks starters, but depth is just as important because we know injuries are going to occur. And say Alex Anzalone does get injured and he's gone for 4 games. You got rid of Derek Barnes, that really just hampers. So what you do is you just keep everybody, and that's the whole point. I don't know if they'll bring him back next year. That's something that we got to wait and see. But this year, Derek Barnes is 100% on this team.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the reason we got to go to the NFC Championship game. Good old pick right there at the end. So, and he had a great year. So 100% he's on this roster. Long term, I don't know. I know. Let's see. Malcolm is the low man on the poll. When your own coach points out your 6 reps at a game and the way he did, he's behind Betts at this point. Malcolm Rodriguez. Betts is an edge more. Malcolm Rodriguez, he's right now just in rotation for linebacker. He's not getting as much reps as the rest of the linebackers, but I don't think one really hurts the other.
No, Rodrigo's better at special teams than most as well, so that alone will keep him on the roster.
Yeah, and he plays offense too.
He plays fullback, which
and he's cheap linebacker, 6th-round picks. Of course, going to be in the roster.
But it's like you saw Rodriguez has
interception in San Francisco.
He should be playing more. You bought the first time he really saw the field last year was against Tampa when we bought him in because of injury. And I remember it because he came in on a first down on a drive, and all 3 plays the defense made on that drive were made by Rodrigo. Like, he's been sat on the bench all year. He comes in, he makes plays. He is a special player. Like, for where we got him from and he is going to be critical to our rotation. I just Emrod to come into this rotation because of injury more than any of these other depth guys there. So you've got to keep him here. He offers a ton to this team. Like, Betts offers nothing right now. Betts has done nothing for this team. He is just someone who's had a good start of an off-season. Rodrigo's played well on special teams. He's played a lot of snaps of starting at linebacker. He plays at fullback. He offers so much more than a Betts does.
I don't think it hurts the other at all. I think they're going to stay with the same linebackers. And I don't think Malcolm Rodriguez, Ross Spy, or Matthew Betts has anything to do with anything. If you're looking at to get an extra player or an extra roster spot, probably look at will they go 5 or 6 wide receivers? If they go
I think
5,
that's the thing.
it's more of I don't think I wouldn't to be worried about when it comes to them too, because Malcolm Rodriguez, he's locked in because he is great at special teams as well. So, and same with Jalen Reeves-Maybin, and he has multiple facets. So I don't think one even affects the other at all. They both could make the team. I mean, I don't think it affects. Frank says, I see Arnold playing slot before I playing outside. Well, this one's already off because he's already locked in as the number 2 corner right now. He's outside corner. It's what he did in OTAs and minicamp. He's not playing slot. He is the outside corner. Terran Arnold, number 2, opposite of Carlton Davis. You look at the depth chart. He's sitting there at number 2 as well as an outside. So he's locked in already. He's not going to play. Maybe they'll do a special defensive schemes in games, but he is our number 2. That's it.
I know Bama did use him there more against certain schemes.
Yeah,
but for the most part,
certain
like he had I think it was 2 or 3 games where he played primarily there, but I think that depends on the sort of opposition that you're up against. If there's a certain player that you want to put him in on, then you can move him in there. But for the most part, we need a physical, dominant outside corner, and that's what we've drafted him to be in the long term. And we've got other guys who can play the slot. So. But yeah, if they feel there's a certain guy they need to put him in there against, they'll not be shy to do that. They'll play the matchups as they do. But overall, he'll stay outside, I reckon.
Boss Up Out Podcast, Detroit Lions. That's Curtis Steele. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, Boss Up Ball Out Podcast, for my man right there, Curtis Steele, as they're beginning their new YouTube channel, and they're gonna be talking Lions. We love it. How was your vacation last week? Amazing. It was good. It was great. I love it. Who is the starting safeties? Branch and Iffy. I think Kirby took a step back last year. So this is interesting, D-Ray. For Brian Branch, he's going to be on the field. We don't know if he's going to play some safety, but I think it's primarily nickel. But if you talk about 2 safeties, I'll probably go with Kirby and Ifutu Melifonwu as primary. But there's going to be overlapping for this position and nickel corner. Even Brian Branch could play linebacker too. So you guys just see him all over the field, but primarily maybe Kirby and Iffy. What do you think?
I'm in agreement. It is better for the future of this team if Kirby and Iffy come good this year. If he's in a contract year, so you want to see what you have in him. Like, was the last half of last season a constant and not a blip? Because if it's not a constant and it is a blip, then of course you get rid of him after this year. And with Kirby, like, which Kirby are we going to see? Like, the really confident, great guy from year 1, or the guy who took a step back in year 2 and is not maybe as good as we think? You have got to give these guys every opportunity to prove to you. You need to make decisions on that. You're certainly going to make a decision on Iffy this year, but if Kirby has another down year, you've got to make a decision on him as well. But they can't do that if they're sat on the bench. We need to see whether these guys are long-term pieces here. So that's why I say leave Branch at nickel, put Iffy and Kirby in at safety to start the season, give them as much exposure as possible, and let them fight for their futures here, because it benefits us to do so. If they don't play well, then start messing around with it. But Iffy and Kirby to start at safety for sure.
Yeah. Says Iffy reminds me of Houston. He had a good play good at the end of the year. I think it was legit, though. I think when it comes to Ifutu Melifonwu, you can't replicate the speed that he has. That is legit. He's really fast, especially when he's blitzing. His tackling is really sound, especially in blitzing. So I think they just used him right. I think they found his strengths and they said, you know what, this is what we're going to do. This guy's a big-bodied safety who can blitz and it can hit, and he can also get an interception here or there, and it worked. So I think it's going to continue to work with Iffy. I'm not saying he's going to be like he was the whole time that run that he had, because that was like all pro type of run. But I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good. I'm sure he'll have some down moments, but I don't think it's just like a blip. I think he is a good player. Now, I Again, I don't know if he'll be like an all pro. That's hard to replicate like he was doing the last couple games, but I think he'll be good, man.
Yeah, I do as well. Like, he's a second-year player. These guys are young, and they're going to have their pits and their falls. And, they're going to have good games. They're going to have bad games. I think last year was just a year of growth, and it didn't really help that C.J. Gardner-Johnson was useless as well, and then was injured. And, we didn't see Iffy till the end of the year really come out his shell. So he didn't have he didn't have the most help there either. So I think he's going to be just fine. We've invested a lot this year. We've got better corners now. Hopefully the communication's going to get better. Because a lot of their problems is communication. Busted goals, not following their assignments. I hate to use the word Patricia used to use all the time. It's the fundamentals. You get that stuff right, eliminates a lot of the problems of what's going on with them there. So I think he's just fine. It was just, year 2 jips as some players get. But going into year 3, invested a lot. We'll see the cocky, confident version of him again.
So Frank Texas, I hate to say it, but Arnold will get burnt deep. Look, he's going to make. He's going to get rookie mistakes, and that's going to happen. It's 110%. It's going to happen, and there's going to be bad moments, but he's going to have good moments too. Really good moments. I think he could be up there for defensive rookie of the year. Really good player, but yeah, he'll get burnt deep. But guess what? You know what happened to us last year? We got burnt deep every single game. We got burnt deep far. We got in the middle. We got destroyed. It was a slow pass. Every passing game was bad. And Terrion Arnold is 100% better than Cam Sutton and Kindle Vildor and what we had in the secondary. Carlton Davis and him are going to be a great combination. But he's not going to get beat all the time. He stayed with Jamison Williams and OTAs and minicamp. He was not getting roasted by him. It wasn't happening.
Yeah, exactly. He is going to struggle to start with. All corners do. I think because people see like Sauce Gardner came to the league, Sir Tang came to the league and just sort of lit it up instantly, that's how it can happen. But for the most part, corners are going to struggle. It's a very difficult position to adapt. And of course, the level of competition just goes through the roof. Like, in terms of skill amongst receivers in the league at the minute, it's probably never been higher, and you look at our open to the season. I mean, like in the first month, you're facing, Nakua, Cup, Mike Evans, CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Marvin Harrison Jr., who's going to be one of the best guys straight off the bat. Like, that is a gauntlet of elite receivers. And unfortunately, they will get the better of you at some point. They even if it's just one, they'll put a move on you where you get burnt down deep. It's trial by fire.
For wide receivers and getting open.
Yeah, it's trial by fire for these corners. And so, of course, because I said, like, I don't expect this secondary to be good early. I expect it to struggle because it's all new pretty much. It's going to take time to get cohesion, to get the communication together, to get things going. And of course, it's going to take time for the rookies to learn. But as you get to the back half of the season, as the experience is there, the trial by fire nature of this, you will start to see the best of them come out. And that's normal. So if he does get burnt early, I don't really care, to be fair, as long as I see him.
Not a Nakuda situation.
Yeah, exactly.
I know there's some people that's a little bit worried because Terrion Arnold's a corner and you got Akuda at 3. This is a totally different player.
Exactly.
Like he's a good player. He's really good.
Exactly.
Really good. That's why we went crazy when we drafted him. That's the guy who I said I thought the Lions were going to trade up and get was Terrion Arnold. I said, look, man, this guy had 5 interceptions. He's sticky, got great hips. He's confident. Yeah, there'll be times he's going to get burned. There's time our secondary going to struggle. But you want to know what? It's already 100 times better than it was last year. That was booty cheeks. Booty cheeks. Will there be 5 DB schemes? I'm sure of it. We'll see what AG bring, or what cooks up, but I'm sure there'll be. That's why it's hard. It's hard to really tell who's exactly starters because a lot of them get rotated around at different spots. It's like you say,
Yeah.
safety or cornerback for Brian Branch. Well, he nickel corner, safety. He could do anything, man. Dude's great. He actually can do it. Unlike Will Harris. Need to know, Mike, did you do the Tower of Terror? I didn't get to. I only went to the Magic Kingdom. I didn't see a Tower of Terror at the Magic. Maybe it was there. I just didn't see it. So no, I didn't get to it. And yes, Daytona Beach was epic. It was fun. It was fun. Let's see. Kirby Joseph is a player that we were talking about that weren't trying to do too much, and that's why he struggled. Do you think that could be a situation where he's doing too much by Frank? I kind of agree with Frank Tank a little bit here. Maybe it's just a little bit too much.
Well, yeah, like I said, the amount of help he got last year was minimal. Like CJ Gardner-Johnson was meant to be the presence back there, the guy who sort of glued it all together and showed these guys and led by example. And they've not. And a lot of these young guys in the secondary, they've had to be the example in a lot of cases. Like Kirby's had to come in and almost fend for himself and just go out there and be the best player he can. Iffy has kind of had to do that as well. I know what we're going into year 4 with him here now, but like he started at corner, he's had injuries, he's had all sorts to do. The transition to safety is relatively new. He's just started playing well. Like it's been trial by fire for these guys, and that's why, like I said, I'm a big proponent this year. I think some of these guys have been doing too much. I think the scheme gets too complicated. I think sometimes you've just got to play your best 5 and work it out. You've got 2 guys in Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold who can lock down the outside. You have one of the league's best nickel corners in Brian Branch. Those guys are going to lock stuff down, and then just have your safeties in there and let them be able to do their job. Let them work together as one. Don't be like, right, well, you've played free safety this now. Now we're going to move you into the box. Oh, no, we're going to move you to the slot. We're not going to... Don't mess with their heads. You've seen today, like, Jelani Tavai just got a new deal with the Patriots, and everyone was slagging him off while he was hearing that. Matt Patricia used to move him here, there, and everywhere. He was very clearly nothing more than a serviceable linebacker who, in a good defense, would be an important part of that in the middle. Just leave him there to do his job. And lo and behold, he's turned into a decent player in the NFL because they just did the simple option when they didn't move him around all over the place. With some of these guys, just keep them where they're best, let them develop, let them thrive. What we did with Kirby year 1. So I agree. I just don't want to see every single snap us moving players around, trying to be clever with it. These are young guys who need to learn and develop. Let them do so at that position they're best at.
Yeah, I agree. Then I think that's what AG is going to do. And a good point by Frank the Tank about Kirby potentially just doing way too much. And I think that's why Justin Simmons, I think, failed over there in Arizona, is they just had him do way too much. Dude, focus on one thing first. Like, you guys got to be able to do that. At least get one thing right first and then bring him on. Sometimes it's just way too much for these young players. And that's just not the way it should be. I think competitive platoon system is the future for the line secondary. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I agree with that statement. These are all good problems to have coming from we were last. Thank you. This is a great problem to have, man. We're talking about who's going to play what in the secondary. It's a great problem because all these guys I feel like is really good. So it's a great problem to have. Really good problem.
Forced competition, because we've not even talked about Rakestraw. We've not even talked about Amit and
Emmanuel Mosley.
I don't. Mosley's not going to make the roster. For me, I would just can Mosley now. He's not our future. We have invested in young guys in the future here. There's no place for Emmanuel Mosley here. For me now, you've got your 2 senior. You've got. He was bought here.
I want to see what he can do this year.
He was brought here to be the senior guy in the room, to provide a bit of veteran leadership and provide some depth there. We've gone and got Carlton Davis and Amit Robertson.
Yeah,
his purpose here now is he doesn't have one. Branch is already at a starter level. He's not going to impact with the safeties. I don't want him really taking snaps away from Rakestraw and Robertson, who are going to be in the rotation. Those are our guys in rotation. Now, if he gets through to the practice squad and you can rehab him and develop him, and injuries happen during the season and you can call him up and you feel good about him, fine. But outside of that, I'm just not that fussed. And there are going to be other places on this roster. I don't want to take too many corners. You need to take your special teams corners with you, so because that's what you're going to have. You need guys on special teams who are going to be depth in the corner room. Mosley is not that. And then, you're going to need extra guys on the offensive line. We've got a problem with the offensive line depth, so we're going to need to take more this year. There's going to be some way you're going to have to cut somebody, and I just don't see no future where he's part of the roster at all. And he's double ACL tears. Very, we talk about Levi never regaining his form or fitness, from his injuries and that. He's a corner. He's tore both ACLs. How's he going to be able to recover his skills, the movement, the ability to deal with this plethora of terribly good receivers we're going up against?
I think we should watch, because I want to see if he can recover from that and play in training camp. Because look, if you're right, if he's too slow, I agree with you. It could be done, right? If he lost a step. But if he didn't lose a step, Manuel Mosley would be nice to have on this depth chart, especially if you get injured and you lose a corner. So I'm just saying, we'll see what he can do in training camp. It was a veteran minimum deal. We don't know. We really don't know his health prognosis. Yeah, he says he's good. Doesn't actually mean he is. See what he could do. If he's still injured, not doing anything, okay. But if he's actually looking pretty good, man, I mean, Mosley was a good player for San Francisco until he got injured.
He's not played a snap of football in what will be 3 years. Oh, he played the one.
That's what I'm saying. We got to see him watch.
But 3 years without competitive football, not many players don't see the field for that long and then come back good. At least not what I can think off the top of my head.
The odds are against him. It is 100% against him.
But who do you cut for him?
I'm going to let him play out in training camp. I want to see what he can do in training camp. This is pre-cuts. If he's slow, okay, cut him. But if he's looking really good and preseason he's looking pretty good, I think I keep him. That's just kind of what I would do. But we don't know how good he's going to be. He could actually be terrible in training camp and still suck, right? Or not be recovered.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You're more of the cut now. I'm more the wait and see.
Oh, I didn't say cut now. I said I don't see a future where he's going to be on there. I wouldn't mind if he was on the practice squad, but again, when I look, we've got our starters. We've got 5. You've got your 2 draft picks. You've got Carlton Davis. You've got Amit Robertson. You've got Brian Branch. 5 of them play at corner. Vet in the corner positions. Then you're going to have your special teams guys who are going to be on there as well. That's a lot of corners you've got. He doesn't play safety. He doesn't do special teams. Where's his in on the roster? What position is he going to take? I just don't see where he will, and I don't know how he can prove it in the preseason games. If he does, fine. But I just think the odds are against him, given the length of those injuries and how little he's played. And how much we've invested otherwise. This cornerback room is different to when we bought him in. We've got vets now, and we've got good vets. I just don't see where it gets. So, yeah.
Yeah, look, it's all on him. He's got to come out here in training camp and show his worth. If he's still not doing anything, it's easy cut. It was a veteran minimum deal. It ain't hurting the Lions at all. I don't think they're sweating it at all. One of those deals where they're like that. Folks, you need to subscribe to Roar Lions UK. Ant-Man, where can they find you? How can they subscribe?
Well, as Matt just said, you can find us at Roar Lions UK. We're a group of Detroit Lions fans from across the pond. So if you want to hear Detroit Lions news from a British perspective, then come check us out. We go live on Mondays. I generally do a show on Tuesdays and Wednesdays with college football as well. So if you want to do something with that, great. So, yeah. You can find us there. Just type it in and we will appear.
3 weeks from training camp. It's going to be crazy. And we're going to be having all content creators on this channel. That's why you're going to want to subscribe to Lions Nation Unite. It's no more just a me, just a show, just a one every. No, it's going to be a lot of content going on there from a lot of individuals. We got the meeting today. So, and as soon as we get it started, I can't wait to have everybody's voice on here talking Lions and getting different perspectives out there. I think it's important to hear different perspectives, not just my view, but everyone else's view. With that said, folks, adios.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour. Take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder. Work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only